Hey guys, welcome back to my another video. This video is going to be about the Redux toolkit. So let's get started. So I have my project running on the localhost 3000 here, and this is the project, and it has, yeah, it's running on localhost 3000, and this in package.json, I don't have any React or not React, sorry, the Redux here. It's a plain React application, nothing else. And if I go to the Redux toolkit site, so basically this is a Redux site here, Redux toolkit. And if I go to the get started here, then Redux toolkit provide a couple of more features which we can implement in our applications when we're using the Redux, which will be very helpful because it's already wrote a couple of more features and functionality. We just need to implement it. Okay. And if I go to the quick start, let me check here. Uh, yeah, if I go to the here in the API references, you guys can check this what are the features which is provided by Redux, such as like ConfigureStore, middleware, reducer, action, slice, what they created, slice, and async tongue, stuff like this. And let me get started, guys. The first thing is what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the, if you guys don't have any React applications, then you can use this command to create a React applications, and it will also install you a Redux. Okay, and you need to install a Redux toolkit as well. This will install you a Redux, but it will not install you a toolkit. But you guys can use this command to install it. I already have this project here, but I don't have a Redux toolkit. So what I'm going to do is basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to install this my Redux toolkit and React Redux on my applications here. So I'll just install it right here. So now it will install the Redux toolkit and React Redux. So while installing, let me go to my project here, and basically in this project it's a plain React project here, and it's running yeah, it's getting the app and it's running it right in index.js, and this is my the app.js, and this has a boilerplate. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete it and just write here the test. So once I write test, then it will auto reload this guy, and it will just give me a test here in the middle, which is okay. So we are trying to use the Redux toolkit, and we're trying to create a very simple the counter Redux applications here. Okay, we're not going to cover any like Redux tongue stuff like that. I'm going to create another video for this one by using the async tongue, which is provided by the React toolkit. So now let me install directly. Let me create directly a store folder here. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create another called store.js. So in store.js, what I'm going to do is I'm going to import the I'm going to import the configure store. Okay, and oh sorry, it's not from a React Redux, it's from the configure store. It's basically is provided by the toolkit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use add Redux toolkit. So once I have this configure store, so basically this is the configurations of the store while we're trying to create. So I'll just create something called store, and in configure store now we can provide the parameters here, right? We can provide the object, and the object has a couple of parameters such as like we can provide a middleware if we want to add some middleware, our custom middleware. We can add an enhancer dev tools if we want to add a dev tools of it, because I think default the dev tool is basically a true, so we don't have to add it at all. And also the preload state, so I'm just going to add the reducer here. Okay, so basically in the reducer now I don't have any reducer created. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just to create an empty reducer. So now if I go it here, and if I go my toolkit, and I have also installed the Redux dev tool here, so I can see my Redux dev tool by here it is, Redux dev toolkit. Oh, it will go directly there. I just need to click here and open in dev tools. Here it is. And right now in my state, I don't have its undefined field. There is nothing, no state has been defined. The reason is in my app.js, I haven't configured any of these, not app.js, sorry, in my index.js right here, I haven't configured any of my store. So what I'm going to do now here is I'm going to add the provider. So basically the provider, we need to add it because we're gonna tell our app that okay app, now you guys need to you need to use the Redux store. So we just need to tell that okay, we where is it, right? So in a provider, we'll just tell them okay, here it is. You just grab this store. And did I? Oh, I didn't export this store at all. I need to export this store as well. Okay, so once I export this store, now I could able to tell in my app now, okay, the store is there. You just grab the store and use it in our app. So once I save it, oh, I need to also export the provider. What is the provider? It doesn't even know. So provider is coming from React Redux. Okay, so once I have reload this, so everything is good. And if I go to my remote tech dev tools, now what I see here, I see nothing. I see nothing. I still see nothing because I don't have any other state. I don't have a state which is created. All right. Yep, I don't have a state created. It's just two open here. So what I'm going to do now is I have a store created, but I don't have any reducer defined. Sorry, I have created a store, but I don't have any reducer. That's why we can able to see it. Now with the next, now our next step is to create a reducer. So what do I do is I will go here, and but the Redux Tools Kit also provide the functionality. I'm going to show you what function is provide. It also shows that okay, it configure here because this is an easy way to set it up. You just configure it. Okay. So yeah, it also provide exactly what I'm doing it before, right? So in the Redux Toolkit provide the easy way to create, to manage actually the reducer and the action, and this is done by the slice. Okay, if we don't have to use a slice if you guys don't want to. I mean, we can also create our own the action and our own reducer using the create action here and create reducer function, right? It will provide it, but there is a default way if we don't want to create like actions and you it also depends on what are the functionality that you are implementing on your applications, right? If it's satisfied the feature which is provided by this CreateSlice, then you could use a CreateSlice because what the CreateSlice does, it will automatically create you the action. You don't have to worry about the action because it does create automatically the action. If you go for the CreateSlice here in this, it says that the function that accept the initial state. Okay, when we create something called CreateSlice, which is provided by Redux Toolkit, then it provides the name, initial state, and the reducer. That's what it's saying, that it will provide the initial state, and it will also provide, oh yeah, we need to provide give a name of the slice, and it automatically generate the action creator and action type. Yep, it generates automatically. When we use a reduce here, and it automatically create the action type here and also like automatically create an action creator as well. It basically does create an action as well, and this will also give you a benefit here. The one more thing is uh, we don't have to shallow copy or we don't have to copy our state here. We just need to directly update our state, which we couldn't able to do it before in our when we create our it's reducer, and because it does automatically because it's used the library called immer, which will mutating the mutable updates. Okay, it just mutated the immutable updates. And now let me create slides on our application. So let's get started on that one. Okay, let me go back. So this is what we are going to create it here. So once we have configured this, now what we're gonna do, the next step is to create a slice. I already explained you the information about the slice here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder called feature, and inside the folder I'll create another folder called counter because this is going to be our slice. Okay, and inside the counter now I'm going to create the counter slice. Counter slice. Okay, so this will be our counter slice, and basically when we try to create our counter slice at the first time, what we need to do is we just need to create the I will export that later on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create the counter slice, and we're going to use the function of one of the feature which is provided by the here CreateSlice. Okay, this CreateSlice which is provided by the toolkit create slice. So in a CreateSlice now it will take a couple of our parameters here, such as like a name. So we can provide a name. What is the name of this slice is going to be? It's a counter. So now we can create our initial slice. So in the initial, maybe we can provide the value equal to 0. This is going to be our initial slice. You can also create the initial slice in the top here if you want to, or you can use that one. And the next one is provide a reducer. Now we can write our own reducer here. Okay. So reducer So inside the reducer now we could able to write our own reducer function. Actually the reducer function, and this is going to be our action as well because it automatically create your actions here. So when we do our increment here, then we can write it here what is going to do. Okay, so this is going to be increment. Let me copy a little bit more decrement, and let me add the increment by amount. Okay, and here maybe we will take the action as well. So now it also provided another call extra reducer. We are not using the extra reducer here. Basically, extra reducer is when we need to use the async call, or if we are trying to call a different the reducer in this counter reducer. If we have different reducer, when I call it, and we can able to use it, and we can able to use on mostly on the async call. We are also using the Redux tongue, then we should able to implement it, which I'm going to create another video for this one. So for now, we are just going to this, but it doesn't do anything at this point in an increment. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use on the state, and we're gonna increment by 1. So as I mentioned before, it used the library called immer, which we don't have to mutate it our state at all. So basically, we can directly update our state like this. If you guys used the Redux before, then what we need to do here in our reducer is basically we need to return it, of course, and we need to copy this state, right? We need to copy this state, and we need to get the value of this state like this, value of this state, and we here we need to update it, right? We need to update it here before, but now we don't have to. Actually, it should be state.value. So now what we can do is we can literally write this state.value. Okay, this is going to be our increment, this is going to be our decrement here. And now here, if we're providing the action will provide the type and the payload. If you guys used the before Redux, but that's how the Redux work. Action will provide the a type and a value inside it, because that this slice is already creating me an action here. So we will only use the action dot payload here just to get the value of it. So what we're going to do is on this state, will get the value, and we will increment the value, but whatever the payload which is provided by the action. Okay, the action is basically it's created automatically here. It's going to be the name with the function of the reducer, which is going to be counter slice this, which I'm going to show you that later on. So now once we create a slice, what we're going to do is we're going to export this. We're going to export the action because it does create you automatically the action. So we just need to tell that, okay, whoever app component is using this one, that's he or the component should use our action, right? So we will just export this action. So what are the action that we need to export it? We need to export this action is basically from counter slice and from action. The console has also provided the actions here already, right? So now in this action is basically going to be this increment, decrement, and increment amount. If I do it here, increment, then we can increment here, we can do decrement, and we can do increment by amount. Okay, once I have done this, export increment, amount, and decrement from counter slice. And this one looks good to me. Oh, I just need to define, sorry, constant here. So once I have done this, so the next is we need to tell our reducer to use the counter reducer. So user doesn't know the counter reducer. So what I'm going to tell that, okay, use the reducer right from here. So now this guy does not export it at all. So I need to export this as well. And reducer is right here, counter slice dot reducer. I mean, you can also export like this, counter slice dot reducer, right? And this file does not return anything except this, and maybe we can use a default here. So once we use a default, then okay, so this is going to be our reducer. So what I'm going to do now here is we want to use the counter reducer. Okay, but the problem now is it doesn't, the VS Code doesn't know where is the counter reducer. It's never been has been created, but it's created right here. So what we're going to do is, you know what, I'm going to return a slice. So here what I'm doing is I know that the slice is returned, but when the reducer is right here. So now this is using the reducer here, all right, the counter reducer. But if you're using a nested reducer, then you couldn't able to use this method because you need to use a combined reducer for that one. Okay, but we are not using a nested one at this point. Just little tip there. So once I have imported our slides, which is fine, and then once I have imported this, now if we check our Redux Dev tool, and if everything is good, and if I if everything is good, then we might see the counter. Okay, the counter is good. We might see the counter, but we don't have any UI created yet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the source store, not source inside in app.js here inside instead of test. We're going to create another button here. Okay, so this is going to be increment. So now we'll create a decrement, and we're going to create increment by amount. The amount which is provided by the input field, which I'm going to create here and on the bottom here. And for grabbing this input field, I'll just create something called a local state here. Okay, and this local state is going to be the input field. Okay, let me create a local state using the tab here. Why the tab doesn't even work? Let me try one more time. Okay, this is going to be our input field here. Set input field. Okay, and the set input is 0. So in input on change, whenever it's on change, then what we're going to do, we're going to grab the value from here. This is going to be event, and on the event val event dot target dot value, basically we're just grabbing on change values, and we're setting on our input field. That's it. And here is a type is going to be text for now. Okay, so here we are just grabbing the value, and now what we're going to do is we're going to use this val, this input field on our this button. So now we also need to print basically our state value, which is going to be our state value, which is going to be this guy, the value. We need to print this on the screen as well. So to print on the screen, so now we'll go back to the Redux. We'll use something called UseSelector, which is provided by the Redux toolkit as well. So inside this state, basically this state is the main state. And the main state, what we have a counter, right? And we have a value. So we're just printing it here. So this is going to be our count, basically nothing. This is going to be our number, and we're just going to print it here. So now see how it looks like. Okay, we need to import this as well. Okay, from React Redux. So here it is. So okay, okay. I just need to refresh that. So here is a that. Okay, let me give some line break here. Okay, here is a number, right? Okay, increment. And here, if I click, nothing will happen, right? Nothing will happen at this point. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to write the onClick function here as well. So basically onClick. So whenever this button will be clicked, now what we need to do is we need to call the increment method increment action that we created. Action is basically it's automatically created inside the slice here. So that's why we need to call this, and that's why we export this something called dot action, right? So we import this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna export this increment here. So when we export the increment, now we couldn't able to use directly like this. So if I import this, and then this will not even work whenever we click it, we need to use dispatch. Okay, so here's the dispatch is come from, and in dispatch is also we need to import it from React Redux, and on dispatch. On this dispatch, now what we need to do is this as a function, and we need to pass this action. That's it. The function, we need to pass this action. Okay, so this is going to be increment, and in the decrement we'll just use this, and we'll just change to decrement. Let me check that if that's work or not. Okay, so now if I refresh, so if I increment, yep, it does work. And if I check my Redux toolkit as well, as I see, I press decrement here a couple of times, and increment as well, and this thing showing me the value, which is a -1, which is on the screen right here. Okay, that's how this work. Now we need to also provide here 12, and if we click this button, this should be a 12 plus 2, 14. Okay, so which is not even working. So now let me put this action, this on click event here as well. But instead of this, now what we need to provide is this action here, and this action will check now the value here. Okay, so the what would be the value? The value here is basically we just need to provide the payload. What is the data that is we are passing on it? So we know that that's an input field, so we're just passing the input field here. And I think I didn't even call this here. That's why it's now if I refresh it, if I do increment, it's 2. If I pass here and click it here, oh, it's 2 plus 2. Oh, it's not 2 plus 2. It's just concatenating there because it's expecting as a string field. So I can change that to string to a number here if I like. I can change that to float, parse float, parse, parse float, and I can pass it here action dot payload. Okay, so once I do action dot payload here, so now if I refresh it, now if I increment here 3, and if I pass 11 and click it here, it's 14. Now if I click it, it will increment by the number which I provided here, right? That's how it's incrementing. And I'm going to show you guys one more thing here. In this action, we don't provide a type here at all. Do you know why? Because if we're using a slice, then it's automatically create your action, which I told you before. If I print the action here and if I click the button here, oh, I need to refresh this. Okay, if I click the button here, then it's already provide a type. It already create a type called counter that increment by the amount ID. So it will grab the reducer name and it will grab the name from the slice and it will create an action type here already. Okay, so we don't have to create it. We just create a reducer here and it will just increment. So that's a basic of this the Redux toolkit. That's just using a slice. I'm going to create any more videos on this React Redux or the full stack dev applications. And please, if you guys like my videos and learn something new today, please do subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Bye for now.